What's up, guys? We're here at AMC Town Square with Chasing Cinema.
Mr. James Hsu.
And it's an awkward week because there's actually not a main movie coming out this week, which is kind of sad.
No, the only real big thing going on is that they are bringing back Close Encounters of the Third Kind to IMAX. But we decided to do something a little bit different.
We recently just watched the best Batman film of all time.
Of all time. And we got the Blu-ray for your birthday.
Loved it. Thank you so much,
So we ended up watching it together, and we were like, you know what? We had nothing to review. Let's review that.
Something.
Let's review this movie. And if you're wondering, you're sitting there like, well, I'm sure James and Jake saw Dark Knight. I'm sure they saw Batman Begins. What Batman movie are they talking about? Should you let them know?
Batman, Mask of the Phantasm.
The best.
Christmas of '93.
Well, I'd even go further. Not only is it the best Batman movie, not only is it one of the best animated movies, I would argue one of my favorites of all time. I think really a game-changing movie for animation, especially animation that doesn't have a Disney logo on it. So why don't you take it away and you go first? And
I was every day after school I watched the animated series.
Yes, which is a groundbreaking series.
And even to this day it still holds up. To this day I can still watch it, and to this day I still wonder and ponder and just reflect and say, what is wrong with Warner Brothers when you have his entire Rogues Gallery, you have all these cool, I would love
with wonderful storylines
to see Mr. Freeze. Not Schwarzenegger.
I know Clayface. I know
I would love, Clayface. And then my next one is, why on earth, with the computer that we have today, do we not have the T-1000 basically, which is Clayface? Yeah. Can morph into any person. He's an actor. That would be amazing.
And I mean, the show was so smart that it would actually go even to beyond to some of the more obscure, really random characters, and then eventually branch out to make its own characters. One of them most being Paul Dini's creation.
The biggest one of all time in any genre who's superhero.
The biggest probably in the canon right now, Harley Quinn.
Came from the animated series.
Yes, the animated series, not a comic book. So if anyone's ever like, I used to read Harley Quinn when she was in the comics.
Oh yeah,
no. But the show did phenomenal. So to keep that hype up, 1993, we're in between the Batmans that we're past the 1989 Batman. We're this like now everyone's just hyped on Batman. Warner Brothers releases Mask of the Phantasm. Doesn't do very well box office wise. Yeah. Not a very highly promoted movie. A lot of adults at this point aren't really focused on going to see animation movies in theaters. They think it's kind of just for kids. A PG movie where there are death, there's, men and women fighting each other. A lot of controversial, intense stuff. I mean, a lot of intense stuff in this movie. If you ask people who saw the movie in theaters, which I never had the opportunity
Neither did I.
They would say a lot of kids left crying. It was very intense. It was too heavy for kids, actually. However, the movie ended up building a life of its own once it hit video.
Which is when I got it.
Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel actually took the time to review the movie years after it came out and said, look, we didn't review this movie then, but we feel it should not be overlooked, claiming how great it is. And as it's grew, it's just become more of a kind of a cult classic. And rarely do I meet a real Batman fan who doesn't say this is the best Batman movie ever made. But yeah, I totally agree. So keep going. I'm sorry. I just want to throw some backstory
It came out.
There.
I loved it, and then my mom bought it for me, and then we had it on the VHS when the VHSs were the big cases, and then they had the comic book inside. And I probably watched this movie 100 times, and then it was just never available. Other than I'm sure it was available on DVD. I never got on DVD.
Yeah, I did.
And then great.
That's how I watched it. I had the VHS with all the other with Sub-Zero, which I think should. Is definitely is ready for its own movie. But yeah, I watched the DVD a lot, and especially when I kind of went around and started collecting more of the Batman stuff. I collected the animated series. We watched that. I mean, Batman was necessary, but we all been waiting for the Blu-ray, and that just came out in June. So. And
then I got pumped up. You got it for me for my birthday, and we just watched it. And in my little story, when Kent got it for me on digital, I probably watched the anime. I probably watched Mask of the Phantasm probably. Since he got it from me, probably like 4 times a year. Like I would just watch it.
Yeah.
It's one of the only ones that's always just on my. I have like maybe 30 films on my iPad.
Always playing it.
And Well, it's one of the ones that never go away.
Yeah.
I'm always interchanging the 30, but one of the ones that are always there is just Mask of the
I've been at the
Phantasm.
house many a times when that's playing while we're
Yeah,
working
it's
or
just-
doing something.
It's just there.
And sometimes it's not good because we both love the movie so much that we're distracted. So after rewatching it, why do you think Batman Mask of the Phantasm, assuming you still think it's the best Batman movie, why do you think it held up so well?
Well, you know, all the movies I love always have a love story in it. Out of all the top, and then this, I love the character of Andrea Beaumont.
Yeah.
And one I already have the nostalgia feeling of the anime series type of animation. So if people don't like the anime series, which you're nuts if you don't,
Yeah,
but if you
I've
don't,
never met
then
somebody-
you're not gonna like this because
Yeah.
that's how they based it on. So one, I already love that, and then two, I actually really love the Phantasm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I would love it, and I'm sure they never will because Warner Brothers just, I don't know, but I'm
Too
sure
busy
they
making Joker movies.
yeah, the three of them. That Mimi said, Wonder Woman, we love it. It's the greatest thing ever. It gives us light. What should we do? 3 Joker movies. So, but anyway, yeah, I love Andrea Beaumont, and I love the character of the Phantasm.
Yes.
I love the way it looks. She, I love the way it looks. Loved it, and then the story was a twist on the origin of Batman.
Yep.
Which they still kept it the same, or they still kept it. You know, the parents died. Bruce was training,
They added and changed
and then
a little
they
bit.
threw in.
But as we
Andrea.
know, as any Batman fan, the story is changed and adapted many a time.
Yeah.
Especially for the Joker, his origin is very different here too. But like always, it's always changing, and that's what's always kind of great about his character is that we always could ground it in a different story.
This is just so satisfying, though, man. This movie, even watching it over again with you, it's just like. It's just, I don't know like how to really say much other than it's so good. I love the score. I love the music.
The score, and the score was so good in the animated series.
Yep.
And it's the same composer, but with a little bit more of a budget. You could really see what they were able
No,
to
it's
do. here.
Shirley Walker.
Shirley
redid
Walker,
it.
you're right.
She wasn't from the anime
No,
series,
no,
though.
she
Yeah,
wasn't.
she
But
redid it.
Shirley Walker really, but I
Borrowed
think
the
they,
elements,
Yeah,
yes. Yes.
They was inspired,
But
but
just
you
not
could
the
see
same.
really what you could do with that kind of a big of a budget, and really putting that operatic, really dark Batman cynicism in every beat of the music. And the music is so important in this movie. I'll get back to it again, but yeah, big time.
And I love at the end of the movie the Tia Carrera song, and I met her through Wayne's World, and I didn't know she sang, and I was like, oh, she's Asian, I like her automatically, and then she sang the song for the outro of this,
Yeah.
and then there's just nothing, seriously, there's literally nothing I don't like about this movie. So a lot of people say, so Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, those aren't your favorite, BVS, you know, that's not your favorite, and what I would always say is,
Valid question.
what I would say to that though is, I love The Dark Knight. That was the best of the three for Christopher Nolan, in my opinion. But there's something I don't like. I don't like his voice. And that's just a little thing. I still love the movie. I'm just
Yeah.
saying there's just a little thing I don't like. There isn't anything I don't like about Mask of the Phantasm. I just love this movie so much.
Well, looking at the movie when it is, 1993, the big reason where Mask of the Phantasm falls for me is that while Batman is being explored in so many different variables, we don't really get to see Bruce Wayne very much. We don't really get to kind of get into his mindset. We don't really kind of get to see his early days as Batman or becoming Batman. Being a regular vigilante, not really having the suit and stuff like that. I mean, as much as we get in both Batman movies, I think we get a flashback. We get the pearls in those two early Batman films. So for anyone who's really not really familiar with the Batman origin, this really kind of gives you this really wonderful understanding of Bruce Wayne's psyche. I think the most rewarding thing of this movie is not the Batman sequences, though they are so powerful, but these are the few emotional moments as he is so conflicted over choosing his own happiness for what his vow is. I mean, there's this really great sequence, and I think it really kind of sums up the power of like this character and this inner conflict that will last. There's a quote that I always say is that Batman said, and I believe in Hush Volume 2, the difference between me and Clark, referring to Superman obviously, is that he wants to do this. I have to do this. And I think that's a great sum up, and this is kind of all comes to fruition because in this story, Batman meets a woman after his parents' death. Bruce Wayne meets a woman after this death, and he believes it's time to maybe hang up the cape and cowl for her. And he is living this life of happiness, and he feels remorse for feeling happy. He feels conflicted and guilty, so much so for living this life that might not be revolved around the Batman, that he literally cries at the grave of his parents, like just giving excuse after excuse, trying to make this right in his own mind. And I think that right there really just can make anyone understand the Bat and how conflicted or how really complex he is. But I think that's, you know, to people who say, you know, Christopher Nolan, I think what's really cool here is that this is Batman of all elements, right? Christopher Nolan gave us the Christopher Nolan universe and how he saw Batman and the realism. DC is doing whatever DC is doing with Warner Brothers right now. And then, you know, of course we had Tim Burton, and everyone tried, you know, we had the really dark kind of, but still cartoony, and then we had the very campy, corny stuff, where this movie kind of blended everything from comics, the animated series, the original movies, and really gave us kind of the central Batman. And I think that being him really felt true to the character. You know, because as much as I love the Nolan movies, and that's what I was saying later, you have to look at this movie at the time, because of course Batman Begins really focuses on Bruce's origins, but no other movie had done that before. No movie had taken the time. What else? I mean, this movie really shows how powerful animation can be, and in the most basic level. This is at a time where CGI is really starting to just kind of find its way into animation. Aladdin, of course, the big sand escape thing is CGI, and there's so many other movies that use it. But when you blend the two, it looks kind of awkward and doesn't necessarily work. I remember the old Spider-Man TV show actually had... Yep. The wall, the buildings around him were CGI, so when he was slinging, but it would look funky. The animated Batman Mask Phantasm does have some CGI, but it's only in the beginning, and then when it cuts to animation, it's strictly animation. Not many people talk about lighting in a animated movie, but lighting is key here. I mean, there's so many great shots of thunder and light, well, not thunder, but lightning and just these reflections, and there are these really just drop dead powerful images. Yeah. I think another one of my favorite parts is the moment Alfred sees the Bat for the first time, and he is so terrified, but just seeing that buildup of him actually holding it, and then there's that great side silhouette of him looking at the cowl and looking at like what fate he's now accepted and putting it on. And I think like those are the things that really make this movie powerful. Maybe to an average person who's not a big Batman fan, who doesn't have those really connected emotions, will look at that, understand, but not really have that like, oh man, like this is such a pivotal moment in this character's timeline. I mean, Joker, obviously, you know, Mark Hamill.
I didn't even mention him, yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Just great.
Of course, I mean, you know, everyone...
People say Heath Ledger's the best one.
Yeah.
The best one, really, is Mark Hamill.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing that you could say, like, out of every adaptation, still the animated version is the best. And I would agree with you. I mean, and here... while he definitely plays that both kind of crazy, you know, jokey Joker that we know,
he's so freaking
he has
funny.
His really big moment at the end that I really love, when his whole entire world is collapsing in front of him, literally moments of death, and he gives like one of the hardest laughs ever as like this fiery inferno is just happening around him.
Because he accepted, and he's like, all right, bring it.
I mean, and it's the relationship between them two, and then of course, like, it goes back to story. I think what makes this so special is I'm going to be here ranting this entire time. I mean, like Dark Knight, yeah, it's good. You know, Dark Knight Rises is great, but if you think about those movies, while their stories people might say are very Nolan and very complicated, they aren't very hard to follow. I mean, they're not very mysterious, suspenseful stories. They're just kind of Batman's got to figure out how to get this villain. This villain does things that are sometimes complicated, and we're not sure why or how they're doing it. But Batman, get the bad guy. This movie is a love story. It's a mystery. We're trying to find out who this mystery character is. We're using clues. Like, Batman's actually solving things as the greatest detective in the world. He's analyzing things in the computer. He's putting clues against clues. He's trying to figure out what is happening. And that really kind of understated story, where I think some people just won't really realize like how harsh. I mean, there's no Batman movie that I can think of other that has such like a kind of a complex plot that you could actually understand if we're not talking about BVS because it's just all over the place. But you know what I mean? Like this is a really great mystery on top of it all. I think people are guessing who the Phantasm is. We're really kind of along with Batman wondering. Oh man, I could go on forever. I mean, like I said, this movie really shows who Batman is as a character, and I think anyone who is a real Batman fan could watch this movie and say, this really sums up why we love that character. Animation, it was groundbreaking for its time, just like the animated series. Has some of the best drawn images I think I've ever seen on film. I'd argue probably my favorite animated film below The Lion King, and the best animated movie without a Disney logo by none. I mean, truly groundbreaking what they did here. Lighting, shadows, everything is so smart, and color. There's not a thing in this movie that feels out of place or feels like it doesn't belong. There's plenty of subtle things that happen in the movie too that just really work for it. I absolutely love it. One of my favorites of all time, hands down. The best Batman movie of all time. One of the best animated movies ever made, and one of my favorites.
Look at that. Whole list. Boom, 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 boom.
I will say this now. I said this to you earlier. I know you were kind of hesitant. I mean, I love this movie to a point where I could 96, 97% say that I will not see a movie this year that I will love as much as I love this movie. You know, and that's, but I mean, that's not necessarily, you know, usually you have your top, I mean, it's like you seeing something better than The Matrix, right? Is that, no, your number one right now? Or, oh, your number one's La La Land. What is your favorite movie right now?
Of this year?
No, just in general. What are your favorites?
Of all time?
Mm-hmm. Titanic.
Titanic's my favorite movie of all time.
So, I mean, do you think you'll see a movie this year that's better than Titanic?
Oh, no, I don't think so, no.
See, it's kind of like that. So, I mean, it's not that big of a jump.
I would love it, though.
But, I mean, that's how much this movie means, I think, to me and you. It's just that it is so good. It's a movie that I don't see. I mean, watching this on Blu-ray, seeing the remastered edition, and you have a huge screen. I mean, it's great.
What's good? I love it. And the fun doesn't stop. The train don't stop, because next week is actually going to be a very, very, very large and from what we're hearing, scary movie.
Yes.
It
finally, after 27 years, which ironically is how long it takes Pennywise to kind of come about.
That's crazy.
Is returning to the big screen. Well, not the big screen, but returning to
make it to the big screen.
Make it to the big screen, but finally returning into our media that we have. Pennywise, Stephen King's It, who saw it and was amazed. Supposedly, like how shocked how good it was.
No, I can't believe that.
But yes, I know.
He needs to say good stuff.
He's made some. He was a fan of Dark Tower too, I think, which is a shame.
He needs to say he likes it though.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I'm all in for this movie. This is probably like besides some stuff later out this year, definitely one of my most anticipated movies, and we're gonna have it here September 7th. At 10 o'clock, guys. Don't forget, a new time.
Thursday.
10:50 or 10 o'clock.
Thursday.
Thursday night.
This coming Thursday.
It comes out on this coming Thursday. So a week from tonight, the 7th.
People are pumped. We've got a big
guys.
group of people. It's gonna be a lot of fun. If you want to attend, hit us up.
And if you want to watch it with us, you'll float too.
You never know. You know, over in that one theater too, everyone's dressing as clowns.
Oh my
Landmark?
gosh! Yeah, no, not Landmark. The Road. Oh, I forget.
Roadhouse?
Not Roadhouse. The
Not Ale House.
No, it's the Texas one. What is Alamo?
Alamo, yeah. Yeah, people are gonna be dressed as clowns.
Clown only screening of
That's
it.
awesome. Yeah, clown only screening, which is pretty.
It's got to be like, you know, like maximum capacity 200.
200.
So you got to do like 199 clowns and then just have like one guest not know
In the
what's
middle.
going on. If you were like, because you could win tickets to go see a clown only, I'd be down.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, I think that'd be really great fun.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Like and comment, and chasingcinema.com is known as
The Film Lovers website.